Hello, everyone. Am I?
This would be better, right? How's it going? And I saw Brandon's comment, which I thought was pretty funny. Let's see if Frank can do the impossible here. All right. As you may know by the title, Defending Bad Movies Round 5, can we defend, or basically me, can I defend Rob Zombie's classic Halloween 2 from 2009? Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I first saw this, I was just by the trailer, I was excited. I was I was awestruck, and I wanted to see it because I actually kind of like the first one, the Rob Zombies Halloween. I thought it was different. I thought it was something out of our comfort zone as being part of the Halloween franchise that we all know and love. So, how did this one fare? Now, I watched it twice. I watched it with the commentary, and I watched it with the director's cut, unrated, a theatrical cut, which is actually hard to find. I think they just came out of it, right, ladies and gentlemen? Um, so I did all that. I dug into history. I tried to find as much information about this movie being made. And I think that the end of what we decide of what's going to happen with this movie, is it worth saving? Is it not worth saving? Should it be thrown in the trash? Should it be set on fire? Or should it be on our shelves for everybody to watch? And can we all like this movie after this episode? We'll see. We got 20 people in here now. So let's dig into it. I don't have anything to show you because we did it yesterday on the Slaughter Lamb, and it was the I put it away down here in my display case. It was the Nightmare Vessel from Trick or Treat Studios. And then it's the American Werewolf in London. And inside the head of the wolf head of David Kessler are two of those little demons from the Dream Suite sequence. So yeah, Brett Patrick, what's going on? Says, hi Frank. I seem to like it a little more every time I see it. Still, and will always hate the white horse. We'll get into that because it is embarrassing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what he was thinking. And let's try not to start off this movie or defending this movie off to a rough start. But yeah, let's take a look here. Okay, let's start. As you know, I love my Google slides, so we're going to start with that. Halloween 2, 2009. Let's begin. Okay, so Halloween 2, 2009, directed and written by Rob Zombie, 15 mil budget, box office 39.5, 22% Rotten Tomatoes, with the audience score of being 44. Now, does that seem right? You know, Rob has always been this kind of eccentric when it comes to movies. A House of a Thousand Corpses, you know, Devil's Rejects, a few other ones that I really don't really care about. So I mean, what was the one that the sequel to Devil's Rejects, Three from Hell? I just recently saw that. He's screams Texas Chainsaw. You know, he's gritty. He's hates, you know, basically society. But I mean, that's what my feeling is. It's not his. It's dirt. It's grime. It's 16 to 35 millimeter shooting. This is his forte, is to make you feel sick. How'd you guys feel about the first one? I was okay with it. The second, as you can see, the second here didn't make really that much money. It was kind of a flop, and we'll get into the reason why pretty soon. But I was looking forward to this, and as you could see from the background, he's actually holding somebody's hair. I don't know if we can get that on any covers of vinyl or media. I don't believe so. Brett says here, I saw a late show opening with some friends the night before I got married. Jesus. A long lasting memory there, Brett. And K Rock says, man, that's a bad movie. And Brandon here says, Rob saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and decided to base his entire personality around it. I guess so. And Nick goes, it was okay, I thought. A Welshman says, "I prefer H2 to Rob Zombie's first one." Wow. Chester says, "I like the first one more than this one." Dream says, "The only good thing about this movie is the title card, and that's a stretch." Yep. And Janine goes, "I don't like either." Byron, what's going on, buddy? He says, honestly, he doesn't have to touch Halloween at all. Uh, if he made, I don't know why I'm looking over here, but I'll go over here. Honestly, he shouldn't have touched Halloween at all. If he made Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, it could have been great. I give the first one a 6 out of 10. So it's a little better than average for you, Byron. Shamrock says, never seen this and don't want to. So there will be spoilers here, Shamrock. So if you're not going to go see it, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Which cut of the movie is your preference? Now, I prefer with Halloween 2, it's different. I kind of like the director's cut, but if you're going to talk Halloween 1, if you're going to talk his first one, the remake, I would go with the theatrical cut. I think that the unrated director's cut is trash. It's absolute trash, especially the hospital scene, how he escapes. You all know what I'm talking about, except for the ones who haven't seen it. I like the theatrical cut where he breaks out of the chains. I think that's absolutely what Michael would have done instead of just leaving the door open and just wandering around. That's what I think is stupid. Jamie goes, "Hey, Jamie, I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better. No one understands the White Horse because many haven't seen Twin Peaks." That's true. Twin Peaks, I haven't seen all of them either. So yeah, if you haven't seen Twin Peaks, you wouldn't have gotten the White Horse. But again, he has that White Horse um, little blip at the beginning of what it's supposed to represent. I have no idea. Dean, what's going on, Dean? Says it's a very odd and weird film that manages not to make a complete mockery of Michael's character. The opening sequence is awesome, just immediately shattered as a dream sequence. Yep. And Shamrock goes, "I don't mind spoilers if I'm all here for your sweet voice and thoughts." Oof. It's gonna be very short then. Let's see here. Chester says, "I like the theatrical version of this. I don't hear love hurts at the end. It's actually Lori screaming." Brandon says his first Halloween film has good moments, but it was a bit pointless given he credited an original first half and a derivative second half. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of movies like that, right? It's just you have a great opening and then it just fades for you. I think I'll do a show like that. Maybe I'll get Darren. Darren will do a show of, opening movies that, just tail off into the end and just don't make any sense. The ending just leaves you unfulfilled. So, all right, let's get into the next slide here. Let's go into the critics' reviews. Adam Markovitz, from Entertainment Weekly. Now, these are all recent. Around the time the movie came out. Most of its 101 minutes are filled with routine slasher scenes and flecking of pop Freudian hokum about why the infamous Michael Myers, Tyler Mane, is such a murderous, unhappy guy. I don't get that at all. I don't see that. I don't see that from Adam's review. I don't know if he ever even saw this movie. About Freudian hokum about why the infamous Michael Myers is such a murderous, unhappy guy. I don't get that. If anyone can understand that, let me know. Joe from the New York Daily News says zombie walks the walk, and you can't deny it. And he's found the medium where he can let his freak flag fly highest. Now say that 10 times fast. Yeah, I think when you put Rob Zombie in the director's seat or even just writing something, you're going to get something. You're going to get something. You're going to get something dirty. You're going to get something grimy, like we said in the beginning. So anyone who thinks this was going to be a regular Halloween movie from a franchise, including the first one, kind of sheen in some aspects, following the formula. It's You're not going to get it. So let's think about that for one minute, just because of Joe's review here. When you get Rob Zombie, to direct and write a movie, you're going to get Rob Zombie's vision. So don't think that you're going to get something that we are so used to in this franchise. You're not going to get five. You're definitely not going to get five. You're not going to get Resurrection. He won't do anything like that. So already, this movie right now, from what Joe is saying, you're going to get Zombie. He's going to walk it, and he can't deny it. He's found a medium, and he's going to let everything out there. This is what you're going to get with Halloween 2, either though you're not used to it. So let's take that in account. So Kim, I always like Kim's reviews from Empire Magazine. In a word, ugly. It just pips Halloween Curse of Michael Myers, a.k.a. Halloween 6, to the title of worst Halloween film ever. You know what? I don't know. I mean, I don't think Kim has ever seen Resurrection. I think Resurrection by far is, out of a franchise, whether you like it or not, I think it is the worst movie of the series. I really do. I don't think anyone to this day, I think the first person camera view has worn out a long time ago. I think even when it comes to Cloverfield, I can't stand. You guys know me. First person camera shaking, I can't stand. I think it takes away from the story. I think it takes away from you being a observer and not being harmed by, physically harmed in a movie. It's almost like being the Watchers in the comic books. Those of you who know the Watchers. Just sitting there, able to see everything, and they're not able to interact with you, and they're not able to see you, they're not able to hear you, they don't know anything about you. And when you put first person, when you become the first person through a camera lens, it just takes me out of it. It takes you, it just takes you out of it, for me at least. But Kim is a little harsh here. I don't think he thinks Curse of Michael Myers is actually the worst. That's what I'm getting from this. I don't think it is. I don't think this Halloween 2 is the worst of the franchise. I think that belongs to Resurrection. But I think we actually defended Resurrection last time. But you can defend something and still call it you're the worst or the best or mediocre. But we're not here to do best, worst, and mediocre. We're here just to defend this movie. Kyle Smith from the New York Post. Halloween 2 offers a rush of fiercely imagined nightmare images. Okay. I mean, if your nightmare is a horse and your mom, it put it into context. Michael kept on seeing his mom with this horse, and then some aspects without the horse, and other nightmare visions for Lori. You got to take that into account, I guess. So, all right, continuing. Let's see, from Aja. From Vox, top critic here, extends its interest in psychology to Laurie Strode, played this time by Scout Taylor Compton, plumbing the emotional and psychological connection between her and Michael. Now, this has been done before. The connection between Michael and a relative. Can you guess which movie? Halloween 5. So it's not anything new. There's I don't like the mental link. I really don't. But however, if evil is able to be transferred with just a touch, you cannot lie that we wanted that with Cunningham, Rowan Campbell's character in Halloween Ends. We wanted that. We wanted this franchise and this series to continue, even if it's with a different character. I think a lot of us wanted that, at least 50%. Don't lie. Don't lie. So if this was the case, there is a connection, a psychological connection to Lori. Is it because of the trauma that she endured as a victim from Michael, finding out that she is the relative, the sister of Michael, the notorious serial killer, Haddonfield's the famous serial killer? Or do they just throw it in there because they wanted something different? And then if you wanted something different, it's not going to be different because it's been done before in the series. It's, I think it's because she found out. If you take, I think I'd rather explain it this way. If you take Michael and Lori, brother and sister, Lori in the second one, going back to 81, Dick Warlock and Jamie Lee Curtis, you take those characters, those two. She didn't find out she was the brother. She didn't find out she was the sister of Michael until we saw her next in H2O. So we didn't even see her processing. So she had 20 years to kind of cope with that. This one, she finds out through a book that Brackett was actually, if Brackett told her, listen, the reason why he came after you, and I'm so sorry for telling you this, he is your brother, and this is your family. That would have probably, it's not going to change her, but it would have lessened the blow. So her finding out the way she did made her go completely nuts. I think with anybody, it would have made them go completely nuts. So we find out her process, her anger, her way of dealing with finding out this information, more so than we did with Jamie Lee Curtis playing Laurie Strode in Age 20. I mean, she was just still having nightmares, but she's kind of dealing with it and pushing it onto her son. So I give Rob Zombie credit for that, letting us see this Laurie's process in dealing with it, and she acted right. She's not going to say, "Oh, I'm Michael Myers' sister. Oh well, gosh darn it, that's terrible. Oh well, I'll learn to deal with it." No, she actually is. She actually, what she actually said. I remember when we did our best and worst of on the TSL. Darren, when we said, "What is our best line, worst line?" I said that I'm Michael Myers' sister. I'm paraphrasing. I'm Michael Myers' sister. I'm so fucked. I thought that was a terrible line. Now that I'm getting it, and I'm seeing her process of finding out she is Michael Myers' sister and her processing it, I probably would have said the same thing. I would have said, I'm screwed, because now you're going to be, sought after by news agencies. People are going to want you to write a book. Victims are coming after you. Victims' families. They're going to want some kind of retribution from you. It's going to be terrible. That's why she said that. So I like seeing it. I like seeing her go into that descent into madness. But then we got Perry here. Our last negative comment. There's plenty of negative comments. At one point in the film, a character is accused of profiteering off the misery of others. And that is exactly what Zombie will do to you if you see this movie. I saved the best to last. when you guys, now put it in the chat. I'm going to try to put them up. When you saw this movie, and I'm being deadly honest with you, when I saw this movie for the first time, I walked out and I shook my head. My wife said, I don't think that was a bad movie. Again, that we have this habit of seeing, if you're not a fan of the Halloween franchise, which most of us are here, come on, I got more. I can't bring it out, as you know. It is not your Halloween film. We can say that for Ends too. Halloween Ends wasn't our Halloween film. But as a story by itself, it works. Halloween 2 works if it was by itself. If we never saw the series and Rob Zombie came out with Halloween 1, Halloween 2, his versions of the film, we would be all over it. Us fans have the horrible we have the most horrible bearing of this franchise because we want nothing to change. We don't want Michael to change. We don't want, his look to change. We don't want the characters to change. And that's quite selfish of us. I don't like it either. I hate change. And we always say, because in our process of our minds, in order to deal with things, and this goes for life too, in order to deal with things, you're just like, if it was by itself, yes, sure. I would definitely watch this and I would definitely like it. But it's Halloween. We're expecting too much. We're expecting the first one. We're expecting the second one. Hell, I'm expecting the fourth one all the time. It's that's what it is. But as a standalone movie, Halloween 2 and the first one works if we didn't have any other of that history. And it's the most used excuse ever for a movie of any series. And if you don't like them, a certain part of a series, you could say the excuse is, well, if it's by itself, it works. It's the most simple explanation to say, and it's the way to cope with your mind that it really is terrible. And you justifying going to go see it and justifying why it should or shouldn't be part of a series. When I walked out of it, there was another guy there, another gentleman, and I looked at him and he looked at me. I'm wearing a Halloween shirt. He was regularly dressed, but he was with his girlfriend, and he just went, I don't think it was that bad. And he wouldn't look me in the eye. But then at one moment he did look at me, and this is the part I was telling you. You did look at me, and without saying a word, he could have told me that sucked. That sucked. And you can't help it. But Jordan, what's going on? Jordan says the best I could say about this film was that zombies saved the franchise from straight to DVD. Good point. Good point, Jordan. I think what this movie, as you can see back here, 39.5 mil box office. Those were fans. And I think what happened was, now let me know if you guys are thinking this or if I'm just complete, out of my mind, if I'm just a nut. Let me know if you think that the reason why it didn't do the 80 to 90 that the first one did is because word of mouth of the fans said to normal people, normal moviegoers, it's not good. Did we hurt this film because we told all those other people, don't go see it? I think that's what happened. Because it wasn't really about Michael, it was about Laurie, which if you come to think about it, it's what Blum did. It's absolutely what Blum did. Blumhouse and David Gordon Green and McBride just basically followed this formula, followed Rob Zombie's formula, and just toned it down. That's all it is. It's a revelation right now I just thought of. That's what I'm going with. All right, let's go back to that next. Let's go to that third slide. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Brandon Collins says the problem with Lori's revelation in the film is that she was already cranked to 11 on the traumatized meter from the start. She had nowhere but she had nowhere to but laterally. That's right. It becomes overwhelming. I get it where it's just going and going and going, but dealing with what she's known, Brandon, let me hear your counter argument to that. If you had to split your two and split yourself in half, what would be the counter argument to that? I mean, we all have to deal with that's the thing about the Blumhouse trilogy is that we had to say, and how little did we forget, 9 years later, we kept on hearing these people, these victims had different ways of dealing with their trauma. Rob Zombie started this whole thing with trauma. This was the first Halloween, guys. This is the first time. I'm thinking out loud now. This is the first time we actually heard of trauma that I've known of and that I see. Now, did 4 have trauma? I mean, Jamie finding out she was just basically crying. And then, you found out she found out that Michael was her uncle. That was a traumatic experience, but she had a crutch. She had Rachel. And then part 5, trauma there. She couldn't speak anymore. And then, we all know the whole town knows that she has Michael is her uncle, but she had Loomis, she had Billy, she had Tina, she had Meeker, she had the police force, she had all these people. The nurse, she had a crutch. 6, oh, there's not really much trauma in 6 because Jamie dies pretty quick in the beginning. Then you have H2O. Lori's actually dealing with her trauma through medication and pushing it on her son, like we said before. She's she's an alcoholic, but she has her job. She does have John. She has the other counselors to lean on, but she's actually standing up to herself, which this Lori isn't. Then you have Blumhouse. No, Resurrection. Again, Laurie's in it for a few minutes. There's no trauma there except for being chased by Michael, but that's trauma, throughout the whole series. And then you have Blumhouse. When we were talking about this, but then you have Blumhouse, David Gordon Green trilogy. That's all trauma and her ways of dealing with it. But she's not a relative. They took that out of there, which I think was a mistake. We all know they should have put 2 back in. And we couldn't care less if it was ever mentioned that Michael and Lori were related. I think it adds more to the story finding out they're related. That's the trauma. And this one finding out that she's related just adds to the story. I think, she should go to 11, as Brandon says. Brett says, I was really pissed off walking out thinking, how could Zombie do that to the Loomis character? That we'll get to that pretty soon. Yep. Jamie says, I think you're right about that, Frank. Change upsets most people. Now, I hope none of you in the audience none of you that are going to watch this afterwards, I hope you never have experienced a house fire. I've seen plenty of them in the job I do, and I've seen the aftermath. Not gonna get too graphic of when animals are left inside, beloved animals, and I'm there and I have to, you know, take care of it. Uh, Seeing the people cry and seeing people that don't even know the animals that were inside that well cry and dealing with that, that goes from 0 to 11. I've never seen people, including myself, I haven't cried over too many relatives that have passed away. I kind of am pretty good with the life to death aspect and only think of fond memories. So when it comes to animals, and you guys in the chat, let me know. It's a different thing. It's very different, but that's a different form of trauma. Losing something is a different form of trauma, including your sanity. I hope everyone here hasn't lost that yet, or maybe you have. Chester here says, I didn't like it when Lori was being mean to Annie. That was her best friend. You know what, Chester? There's a few people that including if you have really good friends, and most of us have really good friends growing up. We've lost connections as we get married, as we start new jobs, as we move, as we go into the military, and we actually gain new friends. But you're never actually, as they say at the end of Stand By Me, you're never going to have friends like you did, like you had the ones growing up. And that's true. I have fought with my friends many, many, many times. And I've come back out of it. We've always made up. It takes about a week or two just to be like, oh, you're stupid. You're an idiot. It's just natural. It's just natural for us to lash out and then rethink it, right, Chester? Rethink it. And then be like, oh, I'm an idiot. Should never have done that. Call up, apologize, and then things go back to being normal. And then you don't think about it again. Let's see. Brandon says, I don't mind change. Hell, I love ends and Last of the Jedi. There you go. There you go. Shamrock says, I just don't like his style of filmmaking. It's crass. I get it. It's not for everybody. It's not what we're used to. So, you guys are going off the hinges here. Michael says, I'm the same. I didn't cry when my parents died. Sorry to hear that, Michael, about your parents. But yeah, I mean, it's just we have a different way of dealing with stuff, So, all right. Moving on. I got a little clip of Rob Zombie saying what he wanted to do with this movie. So let's take a look at it really quick.
But what I really wanted to do is delve into the lives of the people affected by what happened in the first film, whether it's Laurie Strode or Dr. Loomis, and the fact that this sort of thing called Michael Myers is hanging over their heads. And just her, it was kind of like Laurie Strode's descent into madness after finding out she's the sister of the guy who butchered everybody she knows.
So there you go. That's his little blurb about what he wanted to do. Sounds familiar. I think what you got to do now is you got to take this movie and you got to look past all the other franchises and their formula. Again, we don't have a Dr. Loomis. We have a Dr. Loomis in here, but it's not Donald Pleasance Loomis. It's not that rational thinking, trying to tell everybody, he's an absolute madman. We have to go and stop him. He was that way in the first one, and then it changed because, you know what? We all thought, especially him, that Michael Myers was dead. But again, he's gone from the hospital or he was gone from the van, and they haven't seen him in a while. Again, if you want to blame Blumhouse and David Gordon Green and McBride for this Halloween trilogy that just came out, you start right here. As Rob said, I want to do something different. I want to deal with people and how they deal with this. That is a movie afterwards. Now I'm going to get kind of historical here for a minute, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. If you look at any kind of World War II movie, especially dealing with the Holocaust, you're dealing with people. The movies sometimes take place after that. I think The Brutalist is like that. Let me know if I'm wrong. Isn't The Brutalist about a man's uh he's trying to get a job after the Holocaust or dealing with the aftermath of World War II? So again, another movie dealing with trauma. I'm not putting Halloween 2 and Halloween franchise with that type of movie, but I'm trying to prove a point here. Um, so why did this movie fail? If you're looking at it and you're saying that this movie was, if this movie was going to be bad, and this movie is bad, and the word of mouth that it is bad from Halloween fans, why did it fail so much? Not just based on word of mouth. So I have something here from Rob Zombie. Now, let's take a look here. Now, this comes from his interview from Forbes magazine, September 12th, 2019. He says, making Halloween with the Weinsteins was a miserable experience for me. And so I was very excited to do the second one. I did do the second one, and I thought, okay, well, the first one was a miserable experience, but it did well. So maybe it'd be easier the second time. It was worse. Oh my God. I felt like they weren't trusting me on the first one because they wanted me to make sure it was a hit. And by now they weren't trusting me to fuck up their hit. So thanks, Brandon. The Brutalist is about a Holocaust survivor trying to pick up the pieces of his life in a new country where the people still hate him. Again, dealing with trauma. So right here, Rob is saying that the Weinsteins, who had their hand in everything, no pun intended, had their hand into everything, it basically messed everything up. And it was a miserable experience. This is something that's been going on in the Weinsteins for a long time. Anything they dealt with, they got too involved. Right here, as Dean says, the Weinsteins are awful. They're awful. They just wanted to be involved so much, and of course, they're going to say, "Hey, listen, we made Oscar winners, Oscar-winning films." Well, this was never going to be one. They needed to know their position. Being a producer shouldn't give you, and I know it does, leeway to be a dick, leeway to butt your nose into everything. And if you hire somebody to do something, let them do it. As the Weinsteins were at the time, were the Weinsteins ever going to tell, let's say, Steven Spielberg, were they ever going to tell him, this is what you should do? No. I don't think they would ever do something like that because he's proven. Rob Zombie at this time had a few movies underneath his belt. So he wasn't proven. He was a proven artist musically, and his first movies did pretty good. But they knew that this wasn't going to be recognized by the Academy. So they messed with it. They fucked with him. They made him miserable. It should be this way. It should be that way. It's, less of that, more of this. And of course, for any director, any writer, and of course, I've heard stories of the Weinsteins, when they look at something, they read the script, they look at the dailies, and they just look at it from what they would like, not what an audience would like, not the history of a franchise, not the history of, I guess, tastes of an audience. So they messed it up. he says making the first one, which was their hit, was miserable. And they didn't think it could be any worse because it was proven. I made you a hit. Let me do what I want to do. And the Weinsteins should have been, go ahead and make it, Rob. You've proven that you could do it. And we're at that. We can probably get $100 million at this point. Go right ahead. No, they thought they knew better. Rob just probably wanted to get it done. I think there was interviews of him, right, guys? So yeah, they messed this whole thing up. They messed it up. I'm not knocking Rob for that. I'm certainly not going to knock this movie now based upon this interview. You know, it says right here, I felt like they weren't trusting me on the first one because they wanted to make sure it was a hit. And now they weren't trusting me to fuck up their hit. I mean, don't mess it up, Rob. We want that money. Shamrock says trauma is why Quint became a shark hunter. It was. So it's the reason why a lot of us are doing something. Dean says it seems like the Weinsteins have always taken on someone's ideas, but then wanted to change the intentions of a project because they're the investors. If you're an investor, it doesn't give you, I guess it depends on how much money you put in, right? Anyone watch enough Shark Tank? I mean, how much did they put into it? Probably all of it. So, yeah. Thanks. Well, we don't have to worry about them doing anything now. Maybe that's why so many good movies are coming out. Michael says putting a hard R scene in this movie didn't help at all. That's true. Okay. Next slide. What the fuck am I seeing moments? These are the things that I think a lot of people are talking about that curved their thinking about why this movie is so low on their tier list. You got the Mr. Ed horse, which made no sense to anybody, and I think that's the worst of it. That whole white horse, and then of course everybody hates when you put your spouse in every movie. Rob does it with his wife all the time, and at the time also Tim Burton has. So Tim Burton always put in Helen Bonham Carter in a lot of things, and you just get tired of it. If you want to, put her as an apparition onto why Michael is doing what he's doing, that is something different. But a lot of us just want Michael just to go around killing people without any conscience or reasoning. So I don't know why they're putting that horse in there. I know why they did it, is to represent, trauma and family and everything like that. But you didn't need it. Do something, put the horse in a background, just have him walk around in a field. That would have been simple enough. And Michael just staring at it. That's what you could have done. And then, you got tension whore Loomis over here, which is certainly not what we want to see. I didn't like this representation of Loomis. I hated it. I didn't think he was, I didn't want him to be a profiteer. But these are the things that we have to talk about that bring down this movie. We have to put on, the both aspects of why we hate this movie and why we're trying to defend it. And then the end scene, Laurie at the end, smiling in a long, room, which has no bathroom. And then the horse and the mother come back again and she's smiling. What a kind of daft ending. I would have liked it if she turned her chair around and she's looking out a window like Michael did, not even smiling. That would have been better. And now, she could have been the next serial killer. And then waited another some odd years before she broke out. That's something. Even Welshman Review says right here, the white horse shit might have worked more in the second one if they at least introduced it in the first one. You know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If they showed it in the first one and it was just a symbol walking around, Michael looking at the horse, Michael staring, the horse is staring back at Michael, and that'd have been it. We would have gotten the meaning. Get it. And all of a sudden, that whole blurb about, what a white horse represents, it would have made sense, but we're not here to, defend part one. I actually think part one, as we said, is actually okay. Okay. Now, here's the redeeming qualities. Now, let me know if you guys agree. Brett Patrick, I know, yeah. Darren and I talked about this. The Taking Shape books go into great detail about the Weinsteins during filming of their entries. Glad they're not part of the franchise any longer. They had it. Logan, they had their grubby little hands and everything. Figuratively. Logan Reynolds says, "Hey, Frank, sorry I'm late." That's okay. There's no way Loomis would have become a narcissist asshole after the events of the first one. He might be an asshole, but suffering from trauma. He would have went around. I think he would have not gone around. You know what? We don't know Loomis's history in this one. His love life is gone. He has no friends, as he said in the first one. And maybe this is his only way to cope. This is his trauma, was making profits off of this. If I was related, if my brother went completely crazy, actually, you know what? I'll give a real point of view, a real occurrence that happened. Ted Kaczynski. Everybody knows who Ted Kaczynski is. The first one who says who Ted Kaczynski is, knows him by another name. Kudos to you. I'll wait for it. They're putting stuff in. You can't tell me that Ted Kaczynski's brother is not making money off interviews. I mean, I'm sure he's saying, yeah, I had a bad, feeling about him. So, it's just, I felt bad for the families. I felt bad for this, for him. Bullshit. You felt, if that was the case, you wouldn't be doing all these damn interviews, which he has done. Good job, Nick. The real name of the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. His brother has been on so many chat shows. And when you go on these chat shows, you're not doing it for free. Shamrock says, I don't know who that Ted guy is. Nick just said it. It's the Unabomber. He hasn't talked to his brother in years before that, before sending him, giving the tip to the police. So after that, they interviewed the guy. I think he's been on like at least a dozen times, and he's getting paid for it. He's getting paid. All right, redeeming qualities. You guys have to admit, Michael in the hospital scene, that is the best part of this movie. If they just continue to go on with that, that would have been fantastic. That would have been it. And continued with the hospital scene. What should have happened was that should have been the end. In the hospital scene, that whole hospital sequence should have been the end. Not at the beginning, but it got us ramped up. It was fantastic. So this movie is actually, in my eyes, saved for the first 20 minutes. And I don't think it was that long. The first 10 to 15 minutes. Out of every scene in the Rob Zombie, in the Rob Zombie's two movies, the hospital scene is the best. Shamrock says, sorry, I still don't know who the Unabomber is. Go ahead. Look it up. Where was it? Brandon Collins says, yeah, but they turned him into a diva who gets mad as assistant fucked up for fucking up his drink order. Rob sees everyone in the world as grimy. And you know what? That's because Loomis, who knows what Loomis has experienced in those few years after Michael left. He's probably gotten so much attention, a lot of money. his lifestyle has changed. He's no longer practicing medicine. It's like the Huck 2 girl, right? No one cares about her anymore. She's had her 15 minutes of fame. This was Loomis's 15 minutes of fame. And if it was me and people were adoring me and giving me money, and for the first 2 years of this, I don't know, this attention, it would have become a lifestyle. There's some people out there who actually love it. They love attention. And certainly I think now he would have been on the internet with his own YouTube show talking about serial killers. Crystal Clear. That's what is it called in the podcast. Crystal Clear with Dr. Samuel Loomis, Esquire, PhD. That's what it would have been. David, what's going on, buddy? Says, what's harder to defend, Frank, this or Freddie's dead? Freddie's dead so far. Oh, all right. Let's see here. Oh, and also, Michael's look is actually pretty good. Ladies and gentlemen, the masks after a while do deteriorate. And Rob Zombie's, the first one and now the second one, have also been copied by the Blumhouse trilogy. Except for, that mask is I think is fantastic. Little hairs out though, very, very lion in, very line made. But I actually do like it. I actually do like this look. I do like his look in the first one. I got as you could see, the mask right there. I actually like it. I actually like that look. I actually like this look too. I think Michael's look, and I think Brett Patrick brought it up before. It's the Hobo Myers is actually a nice look. Him going around, that stuff is going to deteriorate. His articles of clothing are deteriorate. The mask, everyone all of a sudden likes, this mask. It likes the latex mask from the Blumhouse trilogy. He likes, everyone likes, the burnt mask and the mold mask from the third one. But H2 and H1 started it. So, I think that's a redeeming quality. I like seeing Taylor's face where he got shot. So, yeah. And also him in that trailer lifting that car over. I mean, of course, it's a small car. I think any one of us here could do it. I think seeing Michael's strength like that, I think is awesome. I think it's great. We all know Michael is strong, picking up people and everything, but not this strong. And yet, all of us, when we do a tier of, I think Darren and I did this. Remember, we did a tier. I think we did the tier of which Michael is the most brutal, and I picked part 6, just upon what I could see from his actions, and then a lot of you has said that Tyler Maine's Michael is the most brutal. Halloween 2 just proves your point. And I'm not talking about, how he kills, because that hospital scene was just awful. The test of strength right there, picking up that car with Lori inside it. It's your proof. Now I'm second guessing myself. I'm trying to think Taylor Maine is better, is more brutal than part 6. I think I'm changing my stance on that now. Byron brings up a good point here. He says, call him crazy, but I prefer Hobo Myers over Myers we got in Ends. Now, if you remember, there was a person putting out online, I think a few people, on what Michael was going to look like in Ends. and it was Hobo Myers living in a sewer, James Jude Courtney. And people were like, oh no, oh God, please don't do it. It's just a repeat of Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's 2009. Please don't do it. Then it came out that it was just going to be him in the sewer with cobwebs and mold and dust. And then people were kind of like, ugh. I think I take Hobo Myers at this point. I don't know. Brandon says here, Sabretooth Myers is just a hulking galoot. When he's an actual monster, he just isn't scary to me. It's like Michael Smash. So silly. Yeah, but we don't know how smart Michael is, though, right, Brandon? I mean, is he supposed to be dimwit? Because remember, he was locked up with no education. You know, I don't know what Loomis was teaching him. So yeah, but Jamie also says, I agree with that. Tyler Main's Michael is brutal, unforgiving, and aggressive like no other. That's the redeeming qualities of this movie. You know, there's only 3. I'm sure there's a few more. The beginning sequence, the way Michael looks, and him picking up that car. It's just it didn't have to be him picking up a car. It could have been something else to prove his strength. And as you know, Brandon says here, you know, Michael Smash. You know, could they have done something different? I think seeing Michael pick up a car is fun. We never seen it before, and he was trying to do something different, as he said in that little clip we played before. He was doing something different. He wanted to do the trauma. He wanted, you know, Michael to be different. And I think he does it. I just don't think we like the way he did it. And I just don't think the Weinsteins, if they just left him alone and say, you know what, we said before, you proved your point. You do it. We're staying out of it. We would have had a better movie. So, really quick, the merch we got. Of course, you got the trick-or-treat masks over here from H2. You got the hospital one all the way over to your left. You got the climax mask at the end. And you got these figures. There's plenty of more stuff, but these things are worth money, especially his figures. You can't find them. They're such a low run. And now everyone's buying up the Rob Zombie's Halloween figure. Everybody's doing it. Shamrock says, where would you rank the zombie Halloweens? I think we did that already. Check it out on TSL. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Of course, you know, H4 is my favorite. I think I put H2 at the bottom because I called it an art film because I didn't like it to begin with. But now I'm changing my mind, I think. Just the way it's always what could have been. What could have been. If you take everything for what it could have been, your mind changes. Logan says, Tyler goes beyond the pale, stabbing the nurse a dozen times when she would have already been dead. James would have executed the job quicker. He's just frustrated in this one, isn't he? James Jude is more towards the original, you know, because it is supposed to be a continuation from the original. And then this one is just frustrated because of what happened to him. The guy got shot in the face. So he is pissed, Logan. Dean says, I have to say I enjoy most of the kills and the brutality in this movie. Being we got that reimagined version of Halloween in 2007, the follow sticks in line with the version of Myers. So really, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear, is this movie defendable? Or is it indefensible or undefendable? Byron says Scout's version of Laurie Strode might be the most traumatic person in the entire franchise. That's true. Brandon says they gave him an actual mental disorder in these films. There's no motive in the original. He's way scarier when we don't know what's motivating him. That is true, Brandon. That's something we're used to, though, right? We're used to it. But if we change it, if we change this franchise to change the story, to make it something different, a lot of us don't like change. But if you think about it, let me know, is this out of your comfort zone that you don't like it enough? You can't like it. It's because Rob Zombie did something different. If that is the case, then you're absolutely right. It's not, if you're a Halloween purist, as Dave McRae says he is, and I believe he is, me, I kind of like things being changed up a little bit. And I think I was just too young. I mean, because that's would have been, what, 15, 16 years ago. So I would have been in my 20s. Following the formula, I didn't like it. As we got older, as we get older, our mood changes. So yeah, it says right here, Michael screaming while he stabs is just all sorts of hilarious. He's quite literally a WWE heel. And yet Tyler Mane was a wrestler. And Shamrock says, we fear change. Why can't Michael be more human? Why can't he? Rob tried to do it. Why can't you be something? I never have been through so much. I've never been through a traumatic experience where, I'll put it this way, the human spirit, if you want to get philosophical, not religious, if you want to get philosophical, I always think what pushes a human to go above and beyond the limitations of our own body. And I think Michael in this one, Tyler Mane's Michael, Rob Zombie's Michael, had such a traumatic experience himself. We don't know why Michael in this series is the way he is, the Rob Zombie series. We think it's because of his childhood. I don't know if that is, because so far, Ronnie White was the only one that was traumatic to him. And maybe except for the kids at school. But Michael, as you saw in the first one, tried to divert the tension away from himself and tried to exit quicker. If you put Michael in a corner, even as a kid, he's going to get revenge on you. And I think a lot of us would do that. He, just like any one of us, if you back us in a corner, we're either going to cower and we're going to let you beat us up, or we're going to fight. And it doesn't matter. I have people at work that say to me all the time, "Oh, Frank, I think I can take you." They say that. And I go, "You probably could." And I said, "But it depends on the situation." I said, "You hurt my wife, you hurt my kids, it's a different Frank." And anytime I fight somebody, and I haven't been in a fight in years, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I don't have to fight, because that's the worst thing you ever want to do. I think if I were to fight, I think I would recognize that person. I think we would recognize that person as somebody. I would recognize that person as somebody who would hurt my family, that just hurt my family, that just did something to my kids, did something to my wife. And I'm going to go for your eyes. I'm going to poke them out. And then I have a guy I work with who was a professional boxer, retired, but he fought in a lot of fights. He's from Boston. And he always says, everybody at work says, "We want to see you and Frank fight." They were figuratively speaking, of course, hypothetical. They said, "Who do you think will win?" And this guy said, "Oh, I'm going to win, definitely. I have more years on him." I said, "Okay." He says, "I'll kill you." I said, "You'll kill me. That's fine. I'll be in the ground. But I'm going to leave stuff. I'm going to leave you at least a limp, a disfigurement, that people are not going to look at me anymore. They're not going to say, 'Oh, you killed him,' but look what he did to you." Man, you can only see with one eye now. You can't drive. Someone else has to wipe your butt. That's bad. At least he doesn't have to suffer. Think about it that way. What are you making fun of my age for? 15 years ago, were you not 45? I'm 44. So, man, I mean, doing the math, I'd be 29 because it was 16 years ago, something like that, right? Yeah, I was 29. Yeah, you better watch it, Shamrock. Oh, but all right, let's get to the end of this. Oh, this is the longest one we've ever done on defending bad movies. So, ladies and gentlemen, really quick, is this movie defendable? Taking everything in aspect, everything we've talked about here, is this movie defendable, or is it undefendable, or is it indefensible or defensible? Is it worth defending? You know, let me know really quick, because I'm going to put the slide next. And I'm not trying to get emotional about this movie the first time I saw it. Shamrock says, eh. Shamrock starts laughing. You better hope you don't see me again. Welshman. Yes. Yes to what? I think it says, yeah, it's defendable. All right. Yes, I could defend it. It has redeeming qualities. Logan says, take out the white horse shit, and it's instantly a lot better. Jamie says, yes. Welshman says, you did a great job defending it. You know, I think it's got a lot of slight side of being defendable, but it falls at the bottom of the list for me. We're all going to have that list, but can you defend it, right? You could say, you know, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever until he got to the Wizards. Then you can defend that. I'm literally laughing out the soda. Chester says, yes, it's definitely defendable. All right. I mean, I think we're getting what we're going to get to at this point with all our comments. And the last slide is, yes, it's defendable. It does have redeeming qualities. You know, Brandon says right here, it's defendable, but I reserve the right to pass judgment on people who do. Shamrock says, I recommend an old horror classic. What, Frank, an old horror classic I should watch tonight? How far back do you want to go? I'm going to say this. I don't think Darren's ever watched it yet, and I gave it to him years ago. The Sentinel. Watch The Sentinel, the horror movie. Logan says, I'll take it over H2O. Compared to Eds, I'll defend Rob Zombie's H2. The hobo figure is hundreds of dollars. It is, Brett. You know, it's so. I got not the hobo figure. I just recently acquired the H1 18-inch, and I got that at a steal of $100. At a steal, Brett, because that's going for money. I'm trying to, Dream Villain. I'm trying. It is defendable, ladies and gentlemen. Knowing what Rob had to go through, taking out the white horse, that's probably the biggest thing. Take out the white horse. The wide horse? Depending. Take out the white horse and leave Loomis in there. Leave Laurie's trauma, because we saw that. We're actually seeing that, because we didn't see it. We didn't see it in any other movies of any of the series, even the David Gordon Green, Blumhouse McBride trilogy. The only blurb we only saw of that is what Karen brought up, and a little flashback of her building that cellar, that trap, in her childhood. That was Laurie's trauma, and then her shooting stuff at the end. It was trauma, not of her at that point of finding out that she's not Michael's sister, because they changed that. We didn't see what she dealt with up to that point in Halloween 2018. So I think it is defendable. So yeah, I think I tried to do a good job with these. Yeah, I couldn't defend Freddy's the last nightmare. I just couldn't. Sorry, Chris. But now that I look at this movie, 16 years later, I could say this movie is not that bad. It's low on my list, but I think it's moved up a little bit. So That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We've been on for over an hour. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming on. I think my next show next week around the same time. I think I'm going to be around Thursday. Maybe Friday. I don't know when, but I'll put it out to you. You guys remember when I did the Rotten Tomato scores? Should these movies have been 100%? I think I'm going to do these horror movies from the 80s need to be so low? Do they deserve to be so low? And I think I'm going to do 50% or lower. I think that's a good way to start. 60%, there's a lot of horror movies at 60%. We'll be there all day. But yeah, let me know, ladies and gentlemen, in your comments. Give me reasons why this movie is undefendable or indefensible. Let me know why. And if you guys keep saying the white horse, it's going to be a skipping record. It's just going to keep coming up. That can't be the only reason. Now, if you say it's not my Michael, it's not my story, okay. But I want you to think outside the box and think if this was the only movies in the franchise, would it be okay? And if the Weinsteins didn't put their hands in it, would it be okay? Jordan, what's going on? Hey, Flavio, go back. It's okay. We're just saying hello to you. What's going on? Jordan says, more of a hard watch than a bad movie. I always try and watch them back to back, but it means I have trouble remembering what happens in each of them. Yeah, that's the same thing with me. If you want something to do this weekend, guys, if you get a chance, watch this movie again. Come back, on Monday or Tuesday and just put update. I seen the movie again, Frank. It's not as bad. Or no, you're full of shit. That's put that. And we'll all get what you mean. All right, ladies and gentlemen, no fancy outro, no bells and whistles. Just frankly speaking, I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I wish you nothing but the best. And thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Make sure you'll check out Darren tomorrow. Darren's talking more nasties with Tony and with the Wig N cult film. It should be a great show. There's my buddy Darren right there. Darren, wasn't all of them pretty good? Damn you. Just this one? Oh. So Darren, please really quick, put that link in there if you want to remind everybody. But tomorrow on Mr. Sandsman, it's going to be, I told Darren this. What he should do is take the song Mr. Sandman and put it as his intro and just do the yes. Just have Mr. Sandman, yes, and then do it. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. For his intro. But yeah, check out Darren tomorrow, Mr. Sandsman, for more video nasties. And then afterwards, go out and buy a bar of soap and wash yourself clean because it does get a little grimy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'll catch you later. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.